You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
Thank you for tuning into The Love Coach Show, hosted by me, Bruce Starr. On this show, you will learn a lot about relationships from me, the Love Coach, and my many interesting guests. And now, welcome to The Love Coach Show with Bruce Starr.
All right, welcome everybody. Welcome to the Business Insight Show. My name is Bruce Starr, and I want to thank you so much for coming and being on the show with us today. I've got one of the most interesting hockey players, professional NHL hockey players of all time. Bernie Nichols played 18 years, and he's a former NHL All-Star, and he's back as part of my Legends of Sports series. I've had some great, interesting people on. I've had on George the Animal Steele. I've had on another one of the great hockey players from the Philadelphia Flyers. I mean, I've had some really interesting athletes on the show, and it's great to have. When I lived in Los Angeles, he was one of the most colorful people in the LA scene, if that's possible, because this was a guy that not only was lighting it up on the ice, I mean, he is only one of 8 players in the whole entire history of hockey to score 70 goals in a season, and only one of 5 to score 150 points. I mean, it's unbelievable what Bernie Nichols has done. He's coached with the Kings for a couple of years when they won the Stanley Cup. So I want to welcome you and thank you so much for being on the show, Bernie Nichols. It's really an honor to have you here.
Well, I appreciate it. Anytime.
And, you know, one of the things that tell us a little bit about, I like my listeners to learn about you, like almost right from the beginning. Where did you grow up? And I know probably everyone, all the guys, all the boys in Canada wanted to be hockey players. But what was special about you that maybe you said to yourself, you know what, I've got some pretty good skills here?
Well, I think, like you said, growing up in Canada, that's all we do in Canada is play hockey. I think a lot of kids are born with sticks in their hands. But for me, it was, I was very fortunate to live in a real small town where obviously it's cold, and we had an opportunity to skate on the ponds every day, or the frozen rinks. We had a frozen rink at our school that we would be able to skate on all the time. So I think that was obviously a big plus for me growing up in Canada. I think for the most part, when you're playing pee-wees, bantams, all the way up, I think when you are doing a little bit better than all the other kids, I think, you always dream about it anyways, but deep down inside you think that you maybe have an opportunity to play in the NHL, and for me, I was fortunate enough to be able to do that.
You know, when I started playing some hockey in high school in New York, and I started late, and I went to Northeast University kind of thinking that maybe I could play hockey for them. And you might have heard of a guy named Fern Flaman. Did you ever hear of Fernie?
I've never heard of Fern, no.
Okay. He played for the Boston Bruins way back, and he was coaching the Northeastern University hockey team. And I remember trying out for the team when I was a freshman, and I was doing fine when we were on the gym floor working out. But when I had to put my skates on and skate against you Canadians, it was a different story, Bernie.
Well, I think, I find that sometimes in golf. I took golf up later on in life, and it's so much of a disadvantage from playing against mostly the American kids that played golf as a young boy, and it's such all sports are tough to kind of pick up later on in life and try to make something out of it. I know, for the most part, people do it and they have fun at it, but to try to be successful in a professional level, it's pretty much impossible.
So what did you do differently than the other kids once you realized that you had something special?
Well, I really didn't do anything different. I just, I went up, did the ranks like all the other kids. I moved away from home when I was 16, come from such a small town that, you probably wouldn't get seen by the proper people, get noticed. So I went to Woodstock at 16, and from there I was drafted to the Kingston Canadians, a major junior hockey team that was the next step from there to the NHL. So that was kind of the path I took, which worked out really well.
Did you end up, any of the kids you played with before you turned 16, any of them end up going to play the pros?
No, no one. But the cool thing is, from my little town here, where I grew up, it's 150 people, and then where we play minor hockey is 10 miles away. There's another town, and Ron Stackhouse played in the NHL. He just lived down the street from me. He was a little older. And then we got two young kids now, Cody Hodson and Matt Duchesne, who are playing in the NHL and playing very well. Matt's in the playoffs right now, just come back from an injury. He played last game, he played night. So to have four people from our town here make it to the NHL is pretty cool.
Wow. So tell me what it was like when you were 17, 18 years old and you were playing as best as you could, and then it became draft time. Tell me, what was it like? What was going on? Did you think that you were going to get drafted? What was that whole thing like from, say, a month or two before the draft right up into the draft? Tell me a little bit about that.
Well, I think like any kid in my position, you're hoping to get drafted. You pretty much know you're going to. The year I had before, it was good. I was one of the better players in the junior hockey, which obviously the next step is NHL. So for me, it was you didn't go to the draft like you do now. Now you just get a call at home, and I was actually away, and they called and talked to my mom, and my mom called me in, and when she told me where we were going was kind of a shock, just because growing up in Canada, all I've ever watched on Saturday night was Toronto Maple Leafs or the Montreal Canadiens, and to be honest, never really knew much about the LA Kings. So I was getting drafted from to a place where I grew up in the smallest town probably in the world, 150 people, to maybe the largest city in the world, in the LA. So it was kind of a shock, but for me it was great. When my mom told me, the first person I went to talk to was my dad. I had to go tell my dad where I was drafted, and from there it was just wait until September to go to training camp. So it was a great experience. So.
And I'm curious, because you said, you were pretty good and you had to be good to be drafted, and you got drafted, pretty high up there. What would your coaches say about you to describe your best skills?
Well, my best skills were probably I was gifted offensively. I was probably very creative with the puck, good goal scorer, could create scoring opportunities for others. I felt I was a very tough player, maybe not necessarily physically, just, mentally tough. I played physical game. I'm probably not going to beat up one of the tougher guys, but I have no problem with the physical play in our game. I enjoyed that. So, and I played obviously with a lot of injuries, which maybe a lot of people may not have played with, but to me, I can handle pain pretty well. So I pretty much played with everything.
Let's take a break from our interview with Bernie Nichols, NHL hockey great.
For these brief but important messages, don't go away. We will be right back.
You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio Channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
This is Cece Schatz, and I'm an inspirational speaker, divorce, life, and transitional coach with a unique style of healing from within. With that, been here, done that approach to life. I hope you'll join me each and every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time with Going Solo with Cece, where we bring you educational, informative discussions through the devastation feelings of divorce to finding yourself and redefining your best life. We will take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of divorce, parenting, being single, relationships, dating, and yes, sex. So be sure to tune in every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern Time with Going Solo with Cece.
Thank you so much for staying with us. This is Bruce Starr. My interview with Bernie Nichols, NHL hockey great, continues right now.
And what was that the first year like when you came up to play with the Kings? What was the state of the Kings back then in the beginning when you first came up?
Well, I think, for all kids getting drafted, you want to go to a team that isn't really loaded in maybe your position that you play. And for me, it was center. And I had Marcel Dion, was obviously the best centerman there. So for me, it was a great opportunity because the team I was going to, there was a good chance I would be able to play on that team. So that part was exciting. Going there, my first training camp obviously was very exciting. I went there actually as an underage, and then I went back to junior, and then finished my junior, and then came the next year with the Kings.
And playing with Marcel Dion, I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, although it actually did get much better. What was he like? Did he play a mentor role for you, or were you kind of on your own?
Well, I think for the most part they did. All your older players will. In a lot of sports, it's very tough for young guys to get mentored from young players, especially guys in your position where you may be taking their job. So the older guys play a huge role, I think, in help developing kids and helping them along the way. And Marcel was that. He was very gifted offensively, and so I could learn a lot from him that way. So, for the most part, it worked out very well for me.
And then some dramatic changes happened to the LA Kings. Picked up a player or so that sort of helped the team along?
Yeah, well, we had traded Marcel probably in, I think, about 4 or 5 years when I was with the Kings to New York. But then we, in '88, we made a trade for Wayne Gretzky and Marty McSorley and Mike Kruseninsky. So obviously having Wayne in L.A. was big for everybody. Obviously the players first and foremost, but I think the fans, they got an opportunity to watch arguably the greatest player of all time, and he definitely turned L.A. into more of a hockey town. We had some great fans in the early 80s before Wayne got there, but then when he came, I think he just added to it, and it was a lot of fun playing with him, obviously.
Would you say that he still had much of the skills that he had earlier in his career that he brought with him to L.A.?
Oh, no question. He was still pretty much in the prime of his life, or in his career, I guess. So, yeah, he brought it all, and it was fun to watch. It was fun to be a part of it, no question.
And he created the opportunity for an excellent goal scorer. I mean, nobody scores 70 goals. I mean, is anybody scoring 70 goals these days? I don't even keep track.
Yeah, not so much now. There was a few when I played. there are some talented kids out there right now, no question. I think goaltending has played a big part of it. The goalies now are so good, and but to do that, obviously Wayne had a lot to do with my success that year, for sure.
And then to have 150 points, which means 70 goals and 80 assists. I mean, you guys must have had a really good time on there. How long did it take you guys to really click once you started playing together?
Well, I never necessarily played in a line with Wayne. Luc Robitaille was my left winger. Dave Taylor was my right winger. So for the most part, we were on opposite lines. We killed penalties together. We played the power play together. But it does not take long to get used to playing with Wayne. It's obviously a pleasure to play with him. As an offensive player, he can only help you. Just get open. He'll definitely get you the puck, and he did that many times for me. So playing with Wayne was a special year.
And, you know, it's always a shock when, like you said, you grew up in a small town, and all of a sudden you're sent off to a big town like Los Angeles, and you play several years in Los Angeles. I think I want to stay with that for a second, because one of the, without really knowing, you know, I mean, I was always a big hockey fan. Like I told you, I even tried out for the team, like I said. And without really knowing too much about the LA scene or about LA hockey scene, I heard about you and how much fun you were having, not just on the ice, but off the ice. Tell us, you know, in a little bit longer terminology, you know, maybe make some stories that you could remember about what that was like to be in probably the craziest town as far as relationships and women and dating must be concerned. What was that like? And tell us a couple of stories that stand out for you.
Well, you know, my first year in LA, my first couple of years, I was the only single guy there. So I think that worked out pretty cool for me. I lived with two guys. Daryl Evans he was single. He was dating. I guess he wasn't single. He was dating one of the players on our team's wife, and Jay Wells was the other guy that was dating Jeannie Buss, the owner's daughter. So other than that, it was me. I was the only single guy. So needless to say, it was a tremendous amount of fun in that department.
Let's take a break from our interview with Bernie Nichols, NHL hockey great. For these brief but important messages, don't go away. We will be right back.
When businesses want short-term answers for problems they have not been able to solve on their own, they bring in knowledgeable, experienced consultants. Why not do the same for your long-term challenges and problems concerning love, sex, dating, and your relationships? An experienced relationship coach can help you through, understand, and cast aside fear and intimacy issues that have prevented you from having the happiness you deserve. You have worked long and hard and have everything but love in your life. Why not have your own relationship coach guide you through every step of the process that will bring you closer to having a soulmate in your life? Don't wait another minute to let go of destructive, unproductive habits to find love. Mention you heard this on my show and receive a free 10-minute consultation. Contact me at lovecoach@AOL.com. That's LUVCOACH@AOL.com. A relationship coach can help you have everything and love in your life.
You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio Channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
Thank you so much for staying with us. This is Bruce Starr. My interview with Bernie Nichols, NHL hockey great, continues right now.
We already talked about Wayne, of course, and Marcel. Who was your favorite player, and who did you become sort of the best friends with while you played?
Well, I think Wayne's going to go down as the best player I've ever played with, no question. And the most fun. For a year, I was kind of Wayne's shadow. Everywhere he went, he took me with him. Every night we're on the road, he'd take me to dinner.
Wow.
We'd do things, which was, obviously very special. A lot of people don't know that. But I was Wayne's boy, and that was really cool. When I went to Chicago, Chris Chelios, Gary Suter were two guys. I've always said if to play with one guy my whole career, Chris Chelios would be in the top of my list. And, I played 2 years with him there. That was very special. So, Luke Robitaille came to L.A., still good friends with Luke. Jimmy Fox is there working. So, the great thing about sports, and one thing that, you probably miss when you retire is just that the people you meet, the friendship you make, the camaraderie in the dressing room and on the road. It's very special, and that's always going to be one of the highlights of any athlete's career. It's just that.
Absolutely. I was an agent out in L.A. at the time when I'd come and see you play, and I remember going to some of the shows and being a part of some of the very last shows after casts and crew being together for 3, 4, and 5, and 6 years, and all of a sudden they were performing for the last time. I mean, that was heartbreaking for everyone. It was something they loved to do. They loved hanging out with the people, and then, boom, no more of that. And everybody went on their own, and they were lucky if it was a huge effort to even see anybody else again. So I can only imagine what it must be like as a professional athlete as well.
Yeah, obviously it's similar to that. And for the most part, when it's done, you do go your own way. And that's the cool thing about doing charity alumni games or fantasy camps for teams you played for, is you get an opportunity to run into the guys that you played with in the past, and that's a very special time. So, yeah, I definitely understand what they go through, and you're with someone for 2, 3, 5, maybe 10 years, and then all of a sudden they're gone, and so you definitely miss that.
And you were in a lot of playoff series. And, Bernie, I'm so kind of the most impressed thing I am that I've heard from you, other than, talking about Wayne. But I'm surprised that to hear you say you actually enjoyed the rough part of hockey. And goal scorers and point scorers aren't usually the guys that enjoy the rough stuff. I always was so curious when I have some of the other hockey players that I talk to, kind of tell me a little bit about that. And then I want to find out about the difference between regular season games and playoff season games.
Well, physical play is part of hockey for the most part, and I've always enjoyed that. I enjoy hitting guys on the ice. So any chance I can to lay a good hit on somebody, I enjoy doing it. And there's definitely a technique to it. Defensemen, they kind of have a strategy of how to hit people, but forwards can too. And there's ways that you can definitely hit guys and hit them hard. And I feel like I have a good understanding how to do that, and I enjoy doing it. So to me, it was a big part of the game and a part I really enjoyed. And I probably played at 185 for the most part, so I had no problem trying to take a 200 or 210 pound guy's head off, so to speak.
And what if they wanted to? What if they saw your number when you did that, and they kind of went after you? Did you have?
Oh, they do.
What did you think about that?
Yeah, they would. For the most part, sometimes you hit a big guy, he's not going to like it. Not many guys like to get hit, but if they're hit clean, then they understand it's part of the game. They still get frustrated, but for the most part, I had plenty of backup on every team I played on, so I was never really too worried about that.
And you didn't have to fight too often? I mean, I certainly remember you as rough, but I don't remember you fighting too often.
Yeah, I probably fought upwards of 10 times in my career. I think for the most part, everybody's going to fight once or twice. It's just so physical, and there's so many opportunities for people to get under your skin and really kind of piss you off. So not many guys get through their career without a fight here or there.
And were there enemies made? I mean, because I used to see year after year the same guys going at each other, just like in regular life. Did you have that also?
Yeah, I think so. There's obviously guys you didn't like playing against, but for me, for the most part, I got guys trying to hit me all the time because I was a skilled offensive player. So you're always going to have guys giving you cheap shots, trying to hit you, do things, but we understand also that's part of the game. Off the ice, even guys that fight on a regular basis and have to fight with one another, they're friends off the ice, or they may go out and have a beer together or something. They just know that that's part of the game, and it comes with the territory. So that's what they do for a living. But after the game's over. It's you could probably get along with everybody, and you definitely have the respect for them, and you understand what their job is on the ice, whether it's to kind of try to intimidate you, try to beat the hell out of you, or get you off your game, whatever it may be. But off the ice, they're, for the most part, most hockey players I've met are great guys.
Thank you for joining me on this version of Business Insight, this time looking into the world of sports. What an honor that NHL hockey great Bernie Nichols would spend time with us on the show. And I hope you enjoyed it. I learned some great things. I learned some interesting things that I never knew before. And that's why I do this show, to be able to bring you interesting interviews with some of the world's great performers, athletes, comedians, actors, and we'll continue to do that here on the Bruce Starr Show, Business Insight, and in the Legends of Sports segment that we did today. So join us again next time here, and thanks for listening in.
Thank you for listening to the Love Coach Show, hosted by me, Bruce Starr. If you would like to contact me for one-on-one relationship coaching sessions that can save you months or even years of being alone and lonely, or in unhealthy dating experiences, or if you'd like me to speak to your group, company, or corporation about productive relationships, contact me at lovecoach, LUVcoach1@gmail.com, or call me at 561-203-5514. Until next time, bye-bye, everybody.
You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio Channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.